Good morning, everybody. This is TX21 Indivisible, and we're here on Wednesday having our usual Chip Roy virtual office meeting. And as usual, there is no Chip Roy, there is nobody from his office staff, because we're persona non grata and not allowed to communicate with them anymore. This will probably be our last official virtual Chip Roy meeting, but you never know. We could be back with a special video if something interesting happens, so stay tuned. We're not gone for good. We're going to focus most of our efforts going forward over the next 55 days on electing someone who we believe will really represent us, and that's Wendy Davis. So there's a number of us on the call today. I think some of us have got letters to read. I'll hand over to Steve to kind of direct the order in which we read the letters. So, Steve, over to you.
Okay, I'll go ahead and go first, and then George, would you like to go after me? Okay. Okay, I have a very short letter. Representative Roy, you say that you support our military, yet you remain silent as Russia puts bounties on our American troops in Afghanistan, and as Trump calls service members losers and suckers if they died or were wounded in battle or went missing in action. Furthermore, Trump doesn't want disabled soldiers or veterans appearing in parades because it might unsettle his sensibilities. This isn't fake news, Representative Roy, as it's been confirmed by multiple sources. Plus, it fits a pattern that goes back to Trump disparaging John McCain for having been shot down over Vietnam and held captive for 5 years, and denigrating Gold Star parents over the death of their son in Iraq. Representative Roy, rather than speaking in front of that big red Trump bus of yours, maybe you should hide behind it. Representative Roy, in closing, you are who you praise, and your unholy alliance with Donald Trump is toxic for District 21, our state, our nation, and our standing in the world. For common sense and decency, count on me to vote for Wendy Davis on October 13th. Stephen Shackelford. Okay, George, you want to go next?
Bet. Dear Representative Roy, I'll keep this short because frankly, we've wasted far too much time on you already. Since you took office in January 2019, you have been an embarrassment to this district. You have disgraced yourself repeatedly in Congress, shouting and disrupting serious debate like a spoiled toddler. You have voted repeatedly against the interests of women, Texans, veterans, and all Americans. You have insulted, mocked, and threatened your own constituents. Last week, you advocated running down peaceful protesters with your car, and I thought you couldn't sink any lower. Then you got into a Twitter fight with Montel Williams. To paraphrase Captain Fluellen in Shakespeare's Henry V, if the enemy is an ass and a fool and a prating coxcomb, does that mean that we should also be an ass and a fool and a prating coxcomb? Fluellen's advice helped England win the Battle of Agincourt, which ended up with over 10,000 French dead. So I will follow it myself as we prepare for battle on November 3rd. I am done talking to you, trying to reason with you, asking you questions that you will either ignore, answer with lies, or use as a pretext to spew your meaningless babble about freedom. I am working to elect Wendy Davis and send her to Washington to do the job you weren't man enough or human enough to do. Sincerely, Susan Shorn, Austin, Texas.
Great letter, George, as usual. Yolanda, would you like to go next?
Microphone.
Oh, your microphone.
I'd like to go last because I have some closing comments plus a change of topic. So
all right.
Let's
okay.
do that at the end.
Catherine, you want to go next?
Oh, Catherine. Okay, so maybe I'll go.
Yeah. Here we go. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Dear Chip Roy, yesterday you tweeted your 20 August letter to the San Antonio postmaster about adding a drive-through drop box to the new post office branch in Alamo Heights. Why are you tweeting information that's almost 3 weeks old when there are still pressing issues facing the U.S. Postal Service that affect all of your constituents, all Texans, and indeed all Americans? I refer you to the 2 emails copied below I wrote to you about the USPS that have basically gone unanswered, as well as to your 19 August form letter to me in which you promised to, quote, follow up with any additional information on the matter after the 24 August House Oversight Committee meeting. Of course, between your refusal to vote on the Delivering for America Act, HR 8015, and your lack of response to my questions, it is clear to me that you do not care about the role of election mail or even of the absolute integrity of the 2020 election. Even so, I still want a response to my 26 August email. Your constituent in Austin, Catherine Wall.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up.
Yes.
Brian, did you say you'd like to go next?
Sure, I'll go next.
Okay.
That's not too long. Reprehensible Roy, over the last 2 years, I've tracked your voting record in Congress, and I find it in no way reflects my values, my beliefs, my politics, or my priorities. In fact, I find many of your votes highly deplorable. I will list just a few of the many bills that you have voted against that stand out for me as being particularly deplorable. Since January 2017, you have voted against supporting NATO, bipartisan background checks, the For the People Act, the Paycheck Fairness Act, reauthorization of the Violence Against Women Act, protecting elders through financial education. You voted against supplemental appropriations for disaster relief. That bill was HR 2157. You voted against the American Dream and Promise Act, the Research and Development for First Responders, Energy Efficient Government Technology Act, the Diesel Emissions Reduction Act. You voted against Small Business Development Centers Improvement Act. You voted against the Voting Rights Advancement Act. You voted against Elijah Cummings' Lower Drug Costs Act. You voted against Homeland Security for Children Act, Protect and Restore Our Estuaries Act, the USPS Fairness Act. And finally, earlier this year, you voted against the Families First Coronavirus Response Act. All of these bills passed in the House, many of them with considerable bipartisan support, but all with zero support from my congressman, Chip Roy. Your voting record speaks for itself. It speaks volumes about you. From your voting record, it's clear that you no longer see an international role for the US in the world. You do not support protections for women from domestic violence. You do not support protections against sexual discrimination. You do not support help for the less well-off, the underprivileged, immigrants, children, the elderly, our first responders, or our US Postal Service. You do not support expanding voting rights, lowering drug prices, promoting clean energy, or protecting our environment. You even voted against the first coronavirus relief package. In fact, with respect to coronavirus, you have constantly abdicated any leadership role. You've consistently denounced all actions designed to control the spread of the virus, such as wearing masks, social distancing, increased testing, sheltering at home, etc. Instead, saying we should conduct business as normal and to heck with the hundreds of thousands who will die. In fact, you even stated that these measures were all part of a democratic hoax that will magically disappear after the election. Disgraceful. Meanwhile, your opponent, Wendy Davis, has been providing helpful advice and resource guides regarding the pandemic. She's been providing these to her future constituents of TX21. Your voting record demonstrates you do not reflect my values, my beliefs, or my priorities. I want a representative that respects and tries to represent all the people of the district. A person who believes healthcare is a basic right and supports affordable, universal healthcare for everyone. A person who respects the value of science and wants to protect our environment, recognizes that climate change is real and is happening all around us right now. a person who welcomes diversity in our society and recognizes the valuable contribution of immigrants to our society. A person who puts people first, not corporations. A person who will build bridges to connect our community together, not build walls to separate and divide them. So you can rest assured, Charles Eugene Roy, I will not be voting for you in the upcoming election. I will be voting for Wendy Davis just as soon as my mail-in ballot arrives. It's time for you to pack your bags, Mr. Roy. It's time to say goodbye, Mr. Chip, and go Wendy 2020. An unrepresented constituent, Brian Clark.
Excellent, excellent.
Very good.
One of your best, Brian.
Yes, that's beautiful.
Mike, would you like to go next?
Oh, wrong one. Yes, please. Mr. Roy, I can at last drop the pretense that something I say or suggest in my letters to you might make a difference in your thought or behavior as my congressman. I've tried to present reasoned, thoughtful, and polite arguments and observations to make you aware of my expectations about my congressman's role, that he should represent all of his constituents, myself included. I asked and advised in vain. I must admit, done exactly what you have, I must admit, done exactly what you told me you intended. In a meeting with Indivisible 21 in your Austin office shortly after you took office, I asked if you could represent me, and you replied that since you campaigned on clearly stated conservative principles and you won the election, you had no interest in representing me. It seems you are truthful in this one instance, Mr. Roy. Your service in Congressman placed you among the least productive members of the House of either party. Your spotlight moments are your procedural obstructions and well-publicized no votes, all in service to some arcane twist of logics, which for the life of me I could not connect with the daily lives and needs of your constituents, be they urban or rural, liberal or conservative. Upon reflection, Mr. Roy, this resembles Ted Cruz's early career. All symbolism and no substance. Ideology does not deal very well with public disasters and novel life-threatening diseases. Instead of partnering with urban mayors and county health officials in your district, in setting masking and social distancing standards, you dithered and got some press, delayed current consistent practices, and encouraged those we lovingly call the rat lickers. Doubtless you got some got sick that may not have. In all, I must express my disappointment, Mr. Roy. Sincerely, Paul Michael Farmer, your constituent. Thank
Very
you.
well expressed, Mike.
Beautiful.
I love that. Mary, do you have something?
Yes, and I will try to hold the camera still. Sorry about this.
No problem.
Congressman Roy, the United States, the wealthiest country in the world, has 25% of the world's coronavirus cases, despite having only 3% of that world's actual population. You have responded to this emergency. I'm sorry about that. By tweeting inflammatory tweets, inflammatory, irrelevant, and untrue accusations against others, numerous others. You use your high office to distract the store clerk so that the real thief can continue to rob the convenience store. Congressman Roy, your opponent has spent her time conducting town halls and connecting people with vital resources. It is time for us to vote you out of office. Pack your bags, Mr. Chip.
That was good too, Mary. Let's see, Shirley, do you have something?
Okay, yeah. I just don't have the video because it freezes all the time. Okay. To Chip Roy, I've been wondering why you want to represent District 21 in Congress. What did you want to accomplish? What do you represent as a Republican? Since your party decided not to state its goals and values in an official platform this year, I've been reading past platforms. Oh, how far the Republican Party has fallen. Here's a quote from Abraham Lincoln. The legitimate object of government is to do for a community of people whatever they need to have done, but cannot do so well for themselves in their separate and individual capacities. How has your leader exemplified this so far in the pandemic, Chip? Oh, I remember Trump had the federal government buy up all the PPE supplies and then made governors bid for them because, as Krishner stated, the federal government stockpile of medical supplies belongs to us, and it's not meant to be just handed over to the states. 180,000 Americans dead in less than a year. Doesn't seem to bother you very much. Here's a quote from Dwight Eisenhower. Basic to governmental integrity are unimpeachable ethical standards and irreproachable personal conduct by all people in the government. Chip, how do you square that statement with your deal to keep your government insurance when you left your government job? Or how do you justify profiting from Kindred Morgan stock when that company is raping the very district you represent? How can you support your leader when he lies, cheats, steals, spews hate and division every time he speaks? And your public behavior certainly isn't irreproachable either. Furthermore, during Eisenhower's time, your party planned, this is an exact reading, to continue the expansion of Social Security, broaden unemployment insurance, and provide better health protection for all people. That platform clearly stated that Republicans were determined that the government remain warmly responsible to urgent social and economic problems. What happened to your party, Chip? To you? Your own voting record and public statements show you opposed everything I've read. Luckily for the country, the Democratic Party doesn't espouse all of these ideals, especially Wendy Davis. That's why I'm volunteering for and voting for Wendy on November 3rd. Actually, I'm voting Democratic top to bottom on the ballot. It's my effort to save a decent country for my grandchildren. Not your constituent, Shirley Mount. That's it.
Well, that was good. I like that part about voting for Democrats top to bottom, because that's what I'm going to do. That's probably what all of us are going to do.
Yes.
You have to clear out all of the trash that's in there now. I think, Yolanda, I think we've gotten to everybody. You said you'd like to go last. Would you like to go ahead and go now?
Yes, thank you. I don't have a letter for Chip Roy, but I do have 2 reasons for joining you today. The first reason is I want to give high praise to Brian and Steve and the rest of you for being so devoted, dedicated. You have persevered, and you deserve a big, big attaboy and attagirls for that. Really, really very impressive. So the second reason that I came today is to kind of give you a preview of how I am redirecting some of my energies, not all of my energies, because I am still dedicated to getting Wendy Davis to give Chip Roy a one-way ticket away from the House. So I am dedicating some energies to that still. I delivered 125 postcards yesterday to Linda Guy, and I felt really, really good about that. So I'd like to introduce to you another group that I am working with and inviting you to redirect some of your energies if you're interested. I had arranged to meet with Susan today. We were going to meet at 11 o'clock at radio so that I could pitch her what I'm going to pitch you all, but the weather didn't help. But I'm going to go ahead and give you an introduction, and some of you might already know about this organization. And it does fall in line with some of the information that Brian shared of how Chip did not vote for anything that has to do for the health of the planet. We know that he didn't vote for the health of individuals, but he also didn't vote for anything having to do with the health of the planet. And so that's the organization I want to talk about a little bit, just to introduce it to you. And you all might already know about it. The name of it is 350 Austin. Do any of you know about this organization?
I have been there and I haven't been doing the work.
So it's an organization that was formed in March of 2008 by Bill McKibben, who is an authority on environmental issues. And it has chapters throughout the country, maybe even international, I'm not sure, but throughout the US there are chapters. And we have our own 350 Austin here in Austin. So 350 indicates any combination or any concentration of carbon dioxide above 350 parts per million is unsafe. So that's the origin of the reference to 350. It's the 350 parts per million unsafe. So our organization had been meeting every third Tuesday of the month. We have been meeting at the Unity Universalist Church. And since the pandemic, now we're having our monthly Zoom meetings on the third Tuesday of the month. So I do invite you to join us if you're interested. We meet at 7 for an hour and a half. So some of the things that I was planning to talk to Susan about, and I still will do that, is exactly what work are we doing? As they say, all politics is local. So all our efforts are addressing local issues having to do with the environment. And our local has 3 goals. One of them is Austin Energy, to get to fossil-free faster. The second goal is to shut down the Fayette coal plant, which is located in LaGrange. And the third goal is divestment from the fossil fuel industry. So those are our 3 major goals. The committee that I joined is the one that hopes to shut down the Fayette coal plant. And the ways that we're trying to do that is to partner with other organizations. And we already have the support of some of the Democratic candidates and some of the Democratic organizations. But now we're coming to Texas 21 to ask for your support as well. So the support would be to endorse our campaign to close the Fayette coal plant. And these are materials that I'm going to share with Susan when she and I meet. I don't know if Texas 21 is allowed to endorse, but she and I will talk about that. We have some interim steps to stop poisoning LaGrange. We'll talk about what those are. The other 2 things that we could use if you all decide to join us is we have bumper stickers and we have t-shirts. We also have petitions that are being signed by regular citizens. These petitions will be taken to Austin Energy. And so we're in the process of collecting. I think we already have more than 2,000, but we need more. And so we'll make those available to you should you decide to join us. If you want more information about the organization, you can go to info@350-austin.org. 350-austin.org. Again, info@350-austin.org. And of course, you can always send me a message on Facebook, direct message, and I can give you more information if you would like. And so that's my invitation for us to redirect some of this energy that we are letting go of Mr. Roy and work on other issues that we can actually succeed at. So, thank you.
Thank you for bringing that up, Yolanda. I've heard of 350 Austin, but that's really about it. So I'm glad that you provided some information to us on that.
You're welcome.
Yolanda, isn't it, is it still the case that Austin actually owns a good portion of that Fayette coal plant, and that while we talk a whole lot of, you know, nice liberal talk, we're actually benefiting from that coal plant and
That's
part of the
benefiting
problem financially, and
yeah.
and that most of the people that live in the area of that coal plant are, of course, poorer, darker skinned, the usual suspects for people that we don't mind victimizing.
That's true. And that's the reason that we haven't let go of our campaign. And our campaign has evolved. We began originally, thinking very, very optimistically that we could get the Austin portion away from, because they do benefit. There is a lot of money involved. And so we're aware of that. And so our campaign has evolved into different routes to get to the same goal. And luckily, we've been helped by some of our own Democratic candidates. Mike Siegel has been involved in helping us.
We would.
Levinsky, I forget what's Levinsky's first name. He's involved in helping us redirect our efforts in a different way so that we can get to what we want. And Austin Energy has made all kinds of promises these past years, but they don't follow up. And so part of what we do is to make them accountable and get them to the point where they cannot continue to promise to do this and that and to have goals, but no timelines. So that's the essence of our work, is to make them accountable and to use all the documentation that is out there for the public, and also to try and get the documentation that they try to shield away from the public. But we know what it is, and we know who to go to, and we just need, that's why we're coming to other groups to ask to partner with us, to help us. The stronger we get, the more success we will gain. But yes, you're right, Mary. Austin Energy benefits financially from continuing to have the coal plant in Fayette.
Okay, I'm going to probably terminate the recording at this point unless somebody has some particularly insightful closing remark.
Okay, and we didn't miss anybody, did we? Okay, I don't think we did, so.
Doesn't sound like we did.
Okay, well, I would like to thank everybody as well who's put a lot of effort into writing these letters and reading these, sticking with this program, even though sometimes it feels like you've been banging your head against a brick wall. But hopefully 55 days from now, we will see there is light at the end of this tunnel, and Wendy will emerge as our new representative for TX21. So thank you, everybody.
Well, thanks to everybody.
Yep.
All
right.
Thank you.
Let's do it.
We can meet in some way or other, even if it's not to have these meetings.
Oh, yeah.